Hi, thank you so much for joining me today. We are living in unprecedented times, and I know that you're very aware of a whole lot that's going on outside of you. There is an abundance of information. I also know that there might be possibly a lot going on inside of you, and I am here to let you know that there is an abundance of comfort and resource inside of you. So I want you to just have a little bit of relief, and I kind of figure if we can gentle our way through this process, that would be useful. And if I can help, I want to. So I'm going to start by just letting you know a few things, because I believe information about how your inside system works can be really helpful. So we're going to have a picture here. So you are a whole system. First, you are a self. Aren't you amazing? And you live in a body. And your body is also amazing. And you also have parts. Now I want you to know that self is bigger than your body gives you credit for. So there's a lot going on. You are a self, you live in a body, and you have parts, and you are awesome. Self, the truth of who you are, is calm and clear. It's connected and curious. It's creative and compassionate. It's confident, courageous, patient, playful, persistent, present, and it has perspective. The truth of who you are, your whole system, is incredible. Some of the things that are going on now out in the world might not feel so incredible, and that's because it's affecting your body and your parts. So let's see if we can break this down a little bit so you understand more of what's going on inside of you. So for right now, I'm just going to move this out of the way. Your body has a nervous system, and that nervous system is really, really important in every moment of every day. It does many wonderful things. So your nervous system tells you if the water is too hot. It tells you if you're feeling chilled and you might want to put a sweater on. It tells you if your feet are on the ground or if you're holding a pen in your hand. It helps keep you oriented to your daily life. It's awesome. So now we're going to draw a bit of a map of some of the things that can go on with your nervous system. While we're living, we are down here going along. Oh, the water's too hot. The water is cold. I'll put on a sweater. Gee, I think I'll run over here. The grass is tickling my toes. And oop, that thumbtack, that's pokey. So just the way your nervous system will tell you if something is too sharp or too harsh for you, it will also let you know if suddenly it perceives danger. Your nervous system is constantly assessing, am I safe? Am I safe? So if your system perceives danger, it's going to pop up here into fight and or flight. You've probably heard of that. But there are a couple of things that are worth knowing about this. So when you pop up into fight or flight, multiple things happen. So adrenaline and cortisol get released in your body really quickly. And when those two things happen, it makes other things happen in your body, like your heart rate increases. That little arrow means increased. Your breathing becomes shallow. Your blood moves to big muscles. Sorry for my messy writing. Your blood moves to big muscles so that you can fight or flight. The other thing that happens is your vision narrows and it gets really focused. And it does that so that you can maybe find an escape route, or the accuracy of whatever it is you're doing can increase. So the other thing that happens up in this fight or flight area is that your prefrontal cortex, do you know what that even is? Prefrontal cortex is part of your brain that's right up here in the front part of your brain, and it's the thinking part of your brain. And when your prefrontal cortex is working, you're down here in this section. But as soon as you pop up into here, your prefrontal cortex goes offline. It is not even available. And this part of your brain, it's called the amygdala, is in charge of survival, and it is what is in charge of your brain. It just all kicks in and takes over. This is actually really good to pop up here if there's really a danger. You would pop up and fight or flight your way out, and then you would come back down into safety. That's what we want to have happen. So you react, you complete whatever the action is that is needed to keep you safe, and then you return and settle back into a state of calm and ease. Threat, fight or flight, act, resettle. Back into safety. Our nervous system knows that it did a good job if we are alive. That's how it assesses what a great job it did. Another thing that's important to know is that if you are kept here at fight or flight for too long, you might end up popping up into here, into freeze, play dead, remember, none of this has to do with thinking about it. All of this happens instantly because your nervous system is keeping you alive, which is a wonderful thing. We want you to be alive and here. If you go up into freeze or play dead, another way to look at this sometimes is to leave. And that doesn't mean flight, it means just not like numb out. If that happens, sometimes people can get caught up here because to come back to safety, they kind of need to come back down through fight or flight, even just a little tiny bit. So if you think about freeze, kind of like an ice cube, the ice cube has to melt and come back down to here. That can be a scary thing for people because if they're in freeze and they start to melt, they can come back down and start to feel some of these sensations, and then they pop back up because those sensations themselves seem like they might be a threat. But the sensations aren't a threat. They were an attempt to help you with a perceived threat. Did that make any sense? That was a lot. Anyway, we want to help people, I want to help people know how to get themselves back down here. Many people can pop up here. I'm going to draw a different part of the picture. Many people can pop up here when there's a threat, and then they can kind of stay here for a while because they don't know how to settle their nervous system back down on purpose. I would like to make this be a shorter chunk of time so that people can go up in fight or flight, do whatever they need to do, and then come back down to a place of safety and ease in their body. That is possible. Many of us have not been taught how to have that happen. The good news is there are many ways to help that to happen, and I am going to get to those, so just hang here with me. This is just orienting you. Thanks. So one of the other things that's worth noting is that if somebody is above this line in any way, their prefrontal cortex is not online. That kind of means that if you were with somebody who, let's pretend you saw somebody who was running out of a burning building, you would not expect to be able to go over to them with your calendar and say, "Hi, how are you doing? Let's get together and go see a movie next week," because they'd be busy running out of a burning building, and that would be so obvious to you. One of the challenges about what's happening right now with the coronavirus is that there's a perceived threat, and a lot of people are very subtly or not so subtly up in one of these areas. And that means that they don't have the same access to clear thinking and to calm sensations as they do when they're down here. And so even though they might not look like they're running out of a burning building, on the inside, they might be running out of a burning building. And that's just worth it for you to know, both for yourself and for anybody else. But we can help. The next thing you need to know is there a connection between this image and your parts. Parts are connected to your nervous system, because one of the things that can happen is that when you pop up here, it can activate a part that might be very worried. More on that in just a minute. In general, when we're down here, parts are just playing with us. They come up, they blend with us, and then they soften back down. For instance, let's pretend that you have a part that likes to cook. That part might, when it's time to cook, get big and kind of blend with you like that. And the two of you as self and the part, together cook. And it's really fun. And then when the cooking's all done, the cooking part goes away. And it just settles back down and it gets small again. It's kind of like the same number. Let's pretend it's time to add numbers. And that's a very different kind of thing. And you have a part that's really good at adding numbers. That part might get big and come on up. And together you might add numbers until the task is done. And then the part would soften back down. I just made that look like those were the same part, but they're not. They're different parts. But parts are really, really good. It's also true, though, that going along in your life, you may have had parts that have picked up some beliefs that aren't helpful, or you may have parts that picked up a perspective of the world that, again, might not be helpful. But sometimes those parts can end up with what we call a burden. And those burdens are also jobs, and that part, if it perceives a threat, it might come flying forward and blend really quickly to do its job. So it might come forward and say, "I'm going to help." And it might blend with the system. So this is all connected to the nervous system. So I'm going to go back to the nervous system picture for a minute and just say, so here we are. And there might be a part here that's playing. But when we get up here, there might be other parts that might come up. Parts that are afraid or scared, that say, we recognize the danger that is here also. And so we're going to help with that danger. These parts don't know about self yet, but that is their job. They're just trying to help. Even if other parts don't think they're helping, but they are. So I have a lot of respect and appreciation for parts, and I want to help them because this is not easy, and it's not easy for you. Let's bring these couple of things together now. So here you are itself, and you have a body. But let's pretend that your nervous system is now activated because you've been told that there is a threat, which we have been told that there is a threat. And then that activates our nervous system. And that can feel like that, which doesn't feel very good. Heart rate's up, shallow breathing, your blood's not digesting food the same way it otherwise would. It's harder to fall asleep. All of those kinds of things. Because your body doesn't want you to go to sleep if you're supposed to be fighting or flighting or you're frozen. Sleep and those things don't go together. So here's an activated nervous system. Now let's also realize that your parts get that there is a threat and your parts want to help. So your parts might start off just being kind of chilling, but then they go, danger, danger. They get the message too. And then they aren't small anymore. They might get really big. And they might come forward and be trying to get help or give help. Get help or give help. That's what parts are always trying to do, even if it doesn't look that way. I want to have a lot of compassion for them. They're just trying to help. So this doesn't feel very good. Doesn't that make sense? It doesn't look like it feels very good. And it's harder to see self, isn't it? Self is a little bit more covered up. And so it feels like there might not be access, however they are, still an activated nervous system, but it doesn't feel like there is as much access to some of those qualities of self, which are calm and clear thinking and curious and creative and compassionate and courageous and persistent. It doesn't feel like there's access to that. This might feel more like worry and concern and pressure and overwhelm and confusion. A lot of things that are not comfortable. Well, that's why I'm here, because I want you to be more comfortable. So one of the first things that we want to do is know that there are ways that we can help all of this be better. So, because that we can be like this, or we can do things so that your nervous system is calmer and your parts are more settled. Doesn't this look more comfortable? It is. We can have this happen. Because the cool thing is that even though you can't change what's going on outside your system, you can have an enormous impact on what's going on inside your system. And we can help your parts and your body receive the support of self. When this is happening, it feels like there's a ton going on, and that's because there is. But it's going on inside of you. It may or may not be going on outside of you. For right now, it's going on outside. But it's also going on inside. And you don't have control over what's going on outside, but you can radically impact what's going on inside. I want you to know how this might sound. This might sound like these parts are actually talking or shouting. They might be saying anything from, help, help, somebody help. Or they might be saying, get away from me, you're dangerous. Or they might be saying, oh, it's all my fault. Or they might be saying, it's all your fault. It also could be saying, a part could be saying, this is hopeless and I don't know what to do. We're all headed for something terrible. All of these parts are just trying to help, even though it doesn't seem that way. You might be feeling any number of these things and maybe plenty more that I haven't named. They are all important, and they're all important to understand so that we can help them all settle. So all of this is really, really wonderful information, because if you know this and you understand that you can impact your nervous system, with some very simple things. They're not hard. And if you also understand that you can help to settle your parts, then your whole system can be soothed and settled, and you did it. And when we're in this state, we are what we call self-led. So we're looking for self-leadership, not really parts leadership, but we're looking for self-leadership. And self-leadership is much more comfortable because we're able to access all of those qualities of self that I've listed. This and what I've shared is true for every single person on the planet. You are self, and you are bigger than your body gives you credit for. And you are unending and steady. And self is a resource for parts, and self can help soothe your body. And all this, if you didn't know it, this is new information to you. I don't know about you, but I didn't learn about this in high school, and I didn't learn about this in college. And I want you to have the benefit of this information because I think it can help everybody. So we can help get your system to a place that looks like this. Aren't you beautiful? I think you are. And we can help you feel calmer about everything that's going on. That doesn't mean you have to like it, but we can help your own system be calmer. And then it's just easier. I'd really like to just have us gentle our way through this challenge. It is possible. So the truth of who you are is self, and self is bigger than any circumstance. And there is an abundance of self. Even if there's an abundance of what's going on outside and an abundance of challenge, self is a way bigger abundance. It's bigger than me even doing this on this board, but it's the best way I know how to show you. Self is steady and sure and unending, and is an inner resource that you may never have been told about. You may never have been given any help in understanding how to access or allow self-energy. Are you willing to consider this new possibility? I'm inviting you to. This is a gentle invitation. It is not pressure, and there's no force here, and I'm not here to convince you of anything. I'm just here to invite you forward into the truth of who you are and to understand how you can work with your body and your parts to have a much gentler experience. There are many ways to help all of this to happen, and there are many people on the planet who are sharing resources that are helping this happen. Even if you don't know it, you just feel better afterward, that is a resource that's helpful for you. Go to it, use it, do it. The more people that we have who are self-led on this planet going through this, the better for everybody. When people are self-led, they can receive solutions to the challenges that are happening. They can find the steps to make our way through this more gently. And there is a lot of self-energy. Many, many wonderful people in the world are doing many, many wonderful things. And we are getting through this together. And self-energy helps a lot. I know your parts might be frightened and worried and confused and overwhelmed and sad and scared and so many things. And I want them to know that there is help for them. I can help, and many other people can help too. So I invite you to just soften into receiving that support. You deserve it. You're worth it. So this video has been long enough, and I'm going to end this video right now so that you have time to digest it and to take it in and to consider whether or not this works for you. I am going to make a few other videos to talk about other ways that you can settle your nervous system, and I'm going to include some meditations to help you know how to settle your parts. So you can kind of come at this from a couple of different directions. I just want this to be more gentle. It really can be. All right. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate your attention and your willingness to bear with me for a little while. And I wish for you more and more self-energy and more relief for your parts. Thank you.